Hello again, welcome back after this short break. We will continue where we left it. The ownership and control assessment session will be presented by Mateja Pogacic from Unit Program Implementation at DG Connect. Mateja, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ramon. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Mateja from DG Connect, Unit R5, and I will be talking about restricted calls. Basically, we will just get to know what does it mean to apply to a restricted calls, how to recognize that the call you're applying to is restricted, where to find the relevant information, and what would be the procedure that we'll need to follow. So we can continue with the next slide. So in addition to the standard eligibility conditions, some calls for proposals can further restrict participation. So these calls we call restricted calls. We have two types. So where the call for proposals further restricts participation to legal entities that are established in member states and specified eligible countries. This is a type 1 restriction. And we have a type 2 restriction, where the criteria is not just that you are established in member state and eligible countries, but that also you are controlled by member state or eligible country. This is called a type 2 restriction. And so for type 1, the situation is pretty clear. Entities which are established in ineligible third countries will not be able to participate. For type 2 restrictions, since we have the criteria of establishment, but also the criteria of control, here the control assessment ownership control assessment will need to be performed in order to determine control. In addition, in some of the call topics, we also have guarantees might be required, meaning if you are established in an eligible country, but you are found to be controlled from a non-eligible country, your participation might be conditional upon you providing a guarantee. We will see about the guarantee procedure a bit later. Just to specify that restricted calls or restricted parts of the calls will be flagged as such in the call conditions. So special attention should be paid to the call conditions. We can continue with the next slide. I think we need to go to the example slide. A bit more up. A bit more up. Exactly. So here I included an example from the current work program 2023. It's an example of a restricted topic where you can see participation is limited to legal entities in member states. And in this case, specified eligible countries are Iceland, Norway, and Israel under certain conditions. We can go to the next slide. Also, we can also see in the second slide, this is the same text from the same topic. It's visible that this is a type 2 restrictions, meaning that control will also be checked. And also, in case you are found to be controlled from ineligible country, you will have an option to provide a guarantee. Also, the contents of the guarantee are already prescribed in the topic condition. We can go further. So, a very important information. We can go to the next slide. Very important information is also that in case you will be applying for a restricted topic, there is a published guidance document on the Funding and Tenders portal, which includes all the document on all the information on the procedures and guidance on restricted calls. Anything that will be expected from you, the procedure step by step, etc. This is all included in the guidance for applicants, which you can find on the FNT portal. And it would be good if you know that you're applying to a restricted topic to familiarize yourself with the contents of the guidance. So we can go further. So just to explain now in short, what are the basic steps of the when we have the restriction type 2, meaning when we have ownership and control procedure to be done. What does it mean for applicants in the proposal submission stage? Basically, in the proposal submission stage, it means that all the participants will have to fill out the declaration of ownership and control. This declaration is included in the application forms of your call, and you will have to sign and fill in the ownership control declaration. So, and the coordinator will combine all the declarations into a single document and submit it with the proposal in the proposal submission system. At this stage, proposal submission, no supporting documents will need to be provided. So we can go to the next slide. At the grant preparation phase, what it means is that if your proposal has passed evaluation, you will be required, you will be asked by the Central Validation Services of the Commission to provide supporting documents on your ownership and control. So you will receive a notification by the Central Validation Services notifying you on which documents you need to provide in order for the ownership control assessment to be done by the Central Validation Service. We can go to the next slide. So, as I said, the ownership control assessment will be done on the basis of your provided declaration on ownership and control and the supporting documents provided during the assessment. After the ownership and control has been finalized, there are two possible outcomes. So entities who are established, who are found established and controlled from eligible countries will be cleared as eligible for participation. On the other hand, entities which are established in eligible countries but controlled from non-eligible countries, either they were assessed by the Central Validation Service or they self-declared as controlled from non-eligible countries, they may not participate in the action unless there are guarantees envisaged for your topics. So in case you are controlled from a non-eligible country and your topic includes the possibility of providing guarantees, you will be asked by the project officer to provide a guarantee letter. There is a specific template for the guarantee letters, and also all the requirements that you need to fulfill in the guarantee letters are already prescribed in the call documents. We can go further. The procedure, we can go to the next slide. The procedure regarding the guarantees is the following. So after we receive your letter of guarantees, they are assessed by the Commission services during grant preparation. Also, the Commission services will contact your national authorities of your country of establishment and seek their confirmation on the guarantee letter. The guarantee assessment and approval or rejection needs to be finalized before the grant signature. We can go further with the slide. Thank you. So just to sum up, very important to know, to stress regarding the restricted calls that the process can be lengthy and complex, specifically regarding the ownership control assessments and also the assessment of guarantees. So it's very important that the reaction of the participants is quick and you respect the deadlines provided, especially from the Central Validation Service. Additionally, if you already at the proposal submission stage know that you are controlled from non-eligible countries, you can already prepare the guarantee letters and submit them with the proposal submission. Also, as some of the outcomes of the ownership and control, if negative, it can affect the consortia. So it's recommended to assess as early as possible the possible impacts of the ownership and control assessment to the entire proposal. Before we go to the Q&A, I will just mention that for Destination 4, my colleague Ramon will later on have a slide where he will present the topics that are restricted under this article in the Destination 4. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mateja. So now we will open the floor 4 questions on this session. Process is the same. You need to go to Slido, you need to enter the event code info day, and then either enter your question or show support for any of the questions, both. As mentioned, this is very important from an application perspective, so if you have any questions, this is your chance. Yes? The first question, example for type 2 restrictions. A company in France but controlled by a company in France but controlled by a company with a legal base in US is not eligible, right?
Well, in this case, the control, as it's stated in the guidance, that guidance document available on the Funding and Tenders portal, control, the definition of control is prescribed in the guidance. It's defined as the possibility to exercise decisive influence on the participant, meaning so it would depend on the control by this mother company, I'm guessing, with a legal base in US. So depends on the type of control. So if there is decisive influence from the US company, in this case would not be eligible. But if the topic has option to provide guarantees, it could be, this entity could be eligible if it provided guarantees. Usually in the guarantees, you can see already in the topic, you are requested to provide some measures in which you are basically stating that there is no risk on the security. So it's a detailed document. So we in the assessment of the guarantee, we can see if the measures you put in place will guarantee your compliance with these specific conditions from the topic. So if your topic includes a guarantee, there is still a possibility that you can participate in the call if your guarantee is approved.
Thank you very much, Matea. Let us see if we have any further questions. Let's give a few seconds. Okay, doesn't seem to be the case. There are no more questions. It's confirmed. So thank you very much, Matea, for your presentation. With this presentation, we end the Destination 3 session, making this bridge to the Destination 4 session that will begin now. Do not think we have any breaks foreseen at this stage because we had one recently. So we will now move to the next set of slides on Destination 4.
They're coming.
They're coming. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So we're running a little bit ahead, behind schedule, actually. So I will try to be quick on this destination in order to pass the floor to Matthias and then to the speakers for the different topics. Destination 4. So within a wide cluster, Destination 4 is a wide destination. It touches upon digital and emerging technologies for competitiveness and fit for the Green Deal. It links up to what we have mentioned throughout these days about the twin green and digital transition. Apologies. So we move into the next slide. Yes, thank you. So there are two calls under this destination, call Digital Emergency 01 and call Digital Emergency 01 Connect. This has no impacts in terms of the application because the opening date and the deadline are the same. It's purely internal business in the sense that some of the topics under one call will be managed by by Hadea for implementation and the others by DG Connect. But again, that's purely internal distribution and has no effect at all in what concerns the nature of the topics or the evaluation or submission phases. So the opening, again, these calls are open already, the 8th December, from the 8th of December, and they will remain open until the 29th of March next year. Next slide, please. Yes, so within this destination, we have a wide range of technologies being covered, of intervention areas. These are grouped under different headings. These are the different headings around which the presentations will be structured in the following hours. We have Photonics, AI data and robotics, European leadership in emerging and enabling technologies, and there is also another heading covering the quantum-related topics and the graphene. So it's a pretty packed agenda, pretty packed destination. And just a couple of words first that this destination, several of these topics will implement co-program partnerships. So all the topics under the Photonics heading will implement the Photonics partnership. I believe the speakers will also probably make reference to this. And one of the AI data and robotics will also implement the ADRA co-program partnership. This in this destination and calls, there are various types of action: research and innovation actions, coordination and support actions. And also, I believe under quantum, you will see an FPA and the accompanying maybe a reference to the SGA that the quantum colleagues will explain. With that, I think we can move to the next slide. And the next one as well, please. Yes, so this has been already mentioned by Mateja in the previous presentation, and this is a very important element to take into account. So there are several topics under these calls, the destination for calls, and on which Article 22.5 is applied, meaning that there is a restriction on the eligibility. The participation is restricted, is limited to legal entities. In this case, for the high TRL quantum technologies, this participation is limited to legal entities established in member states, Iceland and Norway, and the one additional associated country, Israel. Those are the topics where this limitation applies. Is two RIAs and the FPA and the accompanying SGA. And one of the low TRL quantum technologies topics sorry, I think, yes, thank you. So there's the topic Digital Emergency 0150, and here the participation is limited to legal entities established in member states, associated countries, OECD, and Mercosur countries. So for those of you interested in these topics, a big encouragement to if you couldn't follow the presentation from Mateja before, to do it afterwards, because it may be of great interest. And I think with this, I am finished with this presentation of Destination 4. I now pass the floor to Matthias.
Thank you, Ramon, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. As Ramon has now done the outline of Destination 4, we're going to dive right into it. And first point here is the European Innovation Leadership in Photonics. And we have colleague Werner Steinhögel with us, who is going to present the first three calls under this area. Werner, are you with us?
Hello, Matthias. Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead. Thank you.
Perfect. Many thanks. So if we go to the next slide, please. These are the four topics for the upcoming call in Photonics. As Ramon already said, they are initiated by the Photonics partnership. So if you want to have more information on the Photonics partnership, please go to photonics21.org. There you find all the information. But now I go directly to the calls. Please, next slide. The first topic is called pervasive photonics, and it's a longer topic. It deals with integration technologies, so how to integrate photonic functions onto a chip or into a package. The budget for this call is 18 million euro. We call for RIAs, research and innovation actions. Typical project size should be between 3 and 5 million euro. Other project sizes are possible, but should be justified then. And the idea is to start with the research activities at technology readiness level 2 and reach 5 by the end of the project. On the next slide, we see the expected outcome. So, as I said already, it's about integration on chips or in packages. And the idea is to improve applications, of course, and the applications can be in communications, for example, Internet of Things, or in sensing. And the integrated functions should help to improve metrics, to improve for communications the speed, the power consumption, or the density of functionalities. And for sensing, the sensitivity should be improved. The whole device should be more compact, and again, power consumption should be reduced. Another outcome we would like to see is to demonstrate new sensing functions or new computing paradigms. It can also be computing, which would enable new system architecture. Then the work should demonstrate the functionality, new functionality of these integrated functions, higher performance compared to the state of the art. And as we are in an industry-driven program, the system should be more cost effective. And by doing this, the activities will contribute to helping Europe to be technological sovereign, to contribute by enabling devices for which are helpful for the Green Deal, the digital transformation, or improve the competitiveness of European industry. And the last outcome is to reinforce European technology leadership. Next slide, please. So what could be the strengths of research? These are just examples for the scope. Interesting activities would be, for example, to integrate in one die or in one so chip is meant photonic functionality and microelectronic functionality. So to have a chiplet, photonic chiplet, which is combined with an electronic one, or to integrate new materials, not new, sorry, to integrate material systems or components which enhance the functionality. So sometimes it's useful to start with a certain material platform which is good. Silicon photonics is, for example, good for waveguides and for sensors, but it's very difficult to realize light sources, and then it's helpful to integrate a material system which has the light source onto this silicon photonics material. And by this, one could address new wavelengths, one could realize new sensor functions or new computing paradigms. What is important is that the improvements of these integrated circuits are demonstrated at least in 2 use cases, and these use cases should be linked to commercial applications. And that could be, the range is quite broad. That could be in computing, that could be in communication, that could be in robotics and autonomous systems, sensors in general, or Internet of Things. Also important is to show that the work is good to be at some stage industrialized, that proposals include a business case and an exploitation strategy. that was it for this topic. Next slide, please. Now we come to a research topic dealing with light sources. It's called versatile light sources in systems. This is also a topic which calls for RIAs. The project size we recommend is between 3 and 5 million euro. Total budget is 18 million euro. And like in the topic before, we expect that the TIL will be moved from 2 to 5, so which is demonstration in a lab environment. Next slide, please. So what's the outcome here? We expect that the research result help to increase manufacturing productivity, so light sources which are suited for manufacturing, or in health applications to increase the quality and the speed of diagnosis results. Then we have an outcome tailored for manufacturing. If it's for microelectronic productions, it should help to increase the accuracy or reducing the feature size. Yeah, that can be, for example, in packaging for integration of photonic and electronic functionalities on chips. For the health applications, the light sources should help to make the diagnosis more specific, so that, for example, human tissues or single cells or molecular biomarkers in liquids can be detected. Next slide, please. What's the scope for light sources? So in general, we are after new light sources or light sources which have considerable improvements to what exists today. So the first one would be sources which are more universal, for which have multiple specifications and a multi-application potential. Another possibility is to extend the wavelengths or come up with new wavelengths or with new coherent light sources. Then when we talk about how the light is deposed at the material, so to do this with in a flexible way and with variation of the energy, which can be used in material processing or in diagnosis. When it comes to the way how the light, whether the light is coming in a continuous way, we would be asking here for versatile pulse shapes and repetition rates and also intensities. Then an interesting research strand is also to develop miniaturized light sources, which are very small, and lasers, for example, and they might also deploy photonic integrated circuit technologies. Then the spectral tunability is important, the coherence and the multi-wavelength emission, this should be variable. Then last but not least, interesting light sources are also ones who can emit multi-photons, so laser concepts and systems who support this and can be used for microscopy, spectroscopy, and imaging are also in scope. It goes without saying, this is an industry-driven topic, that also here we would like to see a business case and an exploitation strategy. Next slide, please. Now I come to a different type of topic. This is a CSA call, so for coordination and support actions. It's about photonic strategies and skills. Total budget is 4 million euro, and we ask for 2 types of projects, which becomes visible in the next 2 slides. Next slide, please. So one topic deals with strategy development. And here we would like the CSA to help that photonic stakeholders cooperate with clusters and also with end users to reinforce the value chains and to help the deployment of photonics technologies. An important task, of course, of the CSA will be to develop with the stakeholders research and innovation roadmap. And by this, it should help to increase the competitiveness of the industrial players in the photonic sectors in Europe, and also help to improve access to finance for industrial players. The second type deals with skills, with better equipping young professionals with skills. And we see more on this on the next slide. So the scope of the CSAs. First, I deal with the one which supports the industrial strategy for photonics. So here, the most important outcome is to develop a strategic technology roadmap, reaching out to all the stakeholders and organizing workshops and collecting ideas and assessing ideas and develop research trends which fit into the political landscape. For this, and then the CSA should reach out to the program owners and to the players at regional and national and European level to disseminate these research strategies. It should also collaborate with other European partnerships to identify synergy and to reap the fruits, so to say. By photonics, there will be interesting technologies, and they can be used in several application areas, and other partnerships or also Horizon Europe missions might be very interested in this. And last but not least, this CSA should help to collaborate with financial institutions to improve the financing conditions for the photonics industry. The second type of CSA, and we actually ask for a certain project size. So 1 million euro should be for this type, and 3 million euro for the type I just mentioned before. So this one is on fostering careers in photonics, and it should foresee and implement actions to encourage students to pursue a career in photonics, to help making students more ready for industry, and also for young researchers to encourage them to innovate and become an entrepreneur if this fits to their ideas. This action should actually seek synergies with other skills development activities which are called for in the Digital Europe program. So from other areas which are related, that could be artificial intelligence, for example, or robotics, or microelectronics, or cloud. So just to connect it to avoid overlaps and to manage overlaps. This would it be from my side, and I hand over to my colleague Henri Raschbenbach, who will
Thank you.
The next slides.
Thank you, Werner. Yes, so for the audience, we will have the Q&A session at the end of the session. So we have one more presentation on one call by Henry Raschenbach, and then we will take the questions for both Werner on the 3 calls and the one that is going to be presented now. Henry?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, so there is a small delay, but you can hear me. So this is the last topic in photonics, and this one is also implementing the European Photonics Partnership. It's called Advanced Imaging and Sensing Technologies. And there we are calling for innovation actions. And as you see directly on the TRL on the right side of the slides, we are looking for proposal starting from TRL 3 and ending up to TRL 7 by the end of the project. The budget for this call is 20 million euro, and we're calling for a proposal between 5 and 7 million euro each. Next slide. The next slide is showing the expected outcome at three levels. The first one is, of course, on the technology level, where we expect that the project will contribute to the next generation of sensory systems based on photonic technologies. In terms of the application and application sectors, we're looking for improving the leadership in a number of sectors, such as automotive, robots, and sensory systems, but also to grow in a number of sectors which we find strategic, such as medical devices, again, automotive, agriculture, food, security. And finally, at the policy level, the one expected outcome is the contribution to the digital Green Deal policy and or to the technology sovereignty of Europe. So those are the expected outcome. And to reach that, next slide, we expect a proposal to cover the following scope. Innovation in hardware, but also software technologies, and novel techniques with potential to outperform the current standard and specification of imaging and sensing systems. And talking about system, the projects should demonstrate the technology in the form of full function, and that is showing feasibility for future industrialization. And we're looking for a project addressing more than one of the one sector, including automotive, safety and security, industry, health, agriculture, and food. So as I said, we would encourage technology on more than one, with application in more than one sectors. For example, talking about imaging, long-range high-speed, high-safe imaging can be used for automotive, but also for security and industrial systems. Talking about imaging in a harsh environment, for example, with obscurant, can be used for medical application, but also automotive, agriculture, food, and more. Microspectroscopy imaging is also important in terms of broadening the spectrum and showing applications spanning from sector, from medical to agriculture and food monitoring and service. So this is also what we look for. So high TRL, but at the same time being able to address more than one application sector. And this is the last slide on this topic. And I guess I'll be back for the electronics later on. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Henry. So thanks, Henry and Werner, for the presentations. So now, dear audience, again, please join us on Slido. Either use the QR code or go to slido.com, and the event code remains InfoDay. So please submit your questions to Werner and Henry. When logging in, put your name, and then if you have specific questions, try to address them to Werner or Henry directly, so that it's easier to figure out who this question is addressed to. So we already have 2 questions here. So let's start at the top. Regarding photonic strategies and skills, type 2, is it an international consortium required for this, or is it okay to have only a national one?
I can take this question. Yeah. So it's a CSA, and the usual rules for Horizon Europe apply. And if I recall correctly, there must be at least 2 countries, 2 different countries. So it must be an international consortium. And yeah, I would also recommend an international consortium because it should cover the needs at European level.
Okay, thank you, Werner. So international one. So then another question, how to know who else is interested by some of those calls? I have items to propose, but no clue how to join the other potential partners. I think that refers to the event that was presented earlier. Does either of you have the details at hand? Brokerage events that were mentioned? Basic question, difficult answer. So there is brokerage events, and maybe they took already place. I can't say now from the top of my head. It was presented in the previous session. It was presented when these brokerage events will take place. Then moving on to the next question concerning 157. Is it mentioned that projects have to address 5 sectors? Should one project actually cover all 5 areas, or is one area enough?
Okay, I
To
can
Henry.
take this. Yes, I can take this one. No, we say at least at least one of the sectors. So 2 is good, and I guess because we're asking for going high in TRL, 3 is a crowd. So 2 is good. So it's not about covering all these 5 areas. 2 is the minimum.
All right, very clear. Thank you, Henry. Then any more questions or all right, so regarding advanced imaging and sensing, do you look for projects that induce technology leadership on autonomous vehicles and robots and sensory systems? So is it about all 3? So that's also Henry, right?
Yes, I'm reading the question again. Advanced imaging and sensing.
If it's in these 3 areas, I understand it.
Use.
It's about autonomous vehicles, robots, and sensory systems at the same time.
Okay. Okay. I must confess that sensory system is quite generic because it can be sensory systems for robots and vehicles. So it's about the 2 of them. So if the area, if it's in an area where Europe is already a leader, and certainly it is for automotive and from technology that are integrated there. So here we're talking about being leaders and leaderships. But it's also about getting increasing the share and the presence in new areas, which might not be high volume, but we consider important. And it's for the proposers to demonstrate that.
Yeah. All right, perfect. Thank you for your answer. How AI should be treated in 57, given that the innovative software is part of the scope. AI is not a topic requirement, but is everywhere. So Henry, again.
Okay, again.
Take your time.
It's not a topic about AI. Okay. It's not a topic about AI, but it's if the system or the concept or the system design is ready for using some AI technologies and they're integrated, then that's great. But don't submit a AI project, even if it's AI with some sensing system. It can contribute to AI, and AI can be integrated there as a support. But again, we're talking about hardware systems.
All right, thank you. So any more questions, or let's just wait for one 1 minute. But thanks a lot already, Werner and Henry, for your presentations and also answering the questions. So it's a little bit a bag of surprises that comes in, but doing a great job. So if there's no more questions, we would move to a short break. So maybe then let's resume at 4:05. So in 5 minutes, we're going to resume, and then we're going to talk about AI, data, and robotics. So thanks, everyone. Thanks to the two speakers, and see you back in 5 minutes, or hear you back. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon also from my side. My name is Mindaugas Veromeus, and it is my great pleasure to navigate us all through this afternoon's sessions. In the next 1.5 hours, you'll get insights into new calls and their destination 4, covering hot topics at the forefront of the digital transition. And as in previous sessions, you will have an opportunity to ask questions at the end of each session via Slido platform. So have your cell phones at hand. We have packed agenda and very knowledgeable speakers who will present the calls in more detail. So let me introduce the first one of them, Antonio Puente Rodero from DigiConnect, who will present the objective AI, data, and robotics. Antonio, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. I am going to present 2 topics. The first one, it is called Novel Paradigms and Approaches Towards AI-Driven Autonomous Robots, which is called for Research and Innovation Actions. And the second one is Industrial Leadership in AI, Data and Robotics, Advanced Human-Robot Interaction, which is calling for innovation actions. I must make a point now because I have just spotted that there is a small mistake in the slides. The first topic is called, both topics in the slides appear with the same title, whereas the real title of the first one is different. It's, as I have said, Novel Paradigms and Approaches Towards AI-Driven Autonomous Robots. I apologize for this small mistake. We will correct it later in another version of the slides. Please, next slide. As I said, this topic is called Novel Paradigms and Approaches Towards AI-Driven Autonomous Robots. It has 3 expected outcomes. All these outcomes are complementary, so all proposals should address all the 3 outcomes. The first one is to achieve substantial next step autonomy in robots undertaking non-repetitive tasks in realistic settings, including human-robot interactions, as well as robots acting in isolation, demonstrated in key high-impact sectors where robotics has the potential to deliver significant economic and/or societal benefits. The second one is to deliver a step change in autonomy essential for the diffusion of robots in various industry sectors and services. And the third one is to accelerate enabling conditions essential for the diffusion of robots in various industries, sectors, and services. In addition to these expected outcomes, the proposals should match a number of additional requirements. I'm going to summarize the most important of them. The first one is greater integration of AI technologies into the physical functioning of the robots. The second one is the proposal should address the interdependence between safety, security, and system performance. And the third one is that regarding the consortia composition is that end users should be involved as scenario providers so that they can set the requirements, success criteria, and context for the targeted sectors or use cases. In general, I would say that the goal of this topic is to be closely linked to real problems of the European industry and European economy. So for that, it's essential to have, as I said, end users involved. And okay, the indicative budget of this topic is 30 million euro. Regarding each action, it should be about 8 million euro. And as I said at the beginning, the type of actions that are targeted are research and innovation actions. Regarding the technology readiness levels that should be considered in the proposals, The starting point for the research should be systems at the levels 2 or 3. At the end of the project, they should be moved to achieve levels 4 or 5. That is as an average and progress in terms of TRLs of the 2 steps. Please, next slide. The second topic related to AI data and robotics is industrial leadership in AI data and robotics advanced human-robot interaction. It focuses mostly on the concept of human-robot interaction. There are 2 expected outcomes, and we expect that each proposal focus on one of these 2 outcomes. These outcomes are very ambitious, each one, and it's difficult that a proposal could target both at the same time. So in principle, the idea of the work program is that each proposal identifies one of these outcomes and focus on it. Moreover, the proposal should identify which has been the chosen outcome, because the call specifically states that at least one proposal from each of the 2 outcomes will be awarded. And in order to verify this condition, it is essential that the proposals indicate which outcome they have chosen. There are a number of additional requirements for both outcomes. I'm going to summarize only the most important of them. The first one is to reach the point where human-robot interaction adds value and improves the quality of outcome for complex tasks. The second one is to address challenges in key industries and develop solutions that address human-robot interaction at all levels, from physical interaction, we are talking basically about collaborative robotics, to social interaction. In this case, we are talking more on communication with the robots without a physical contact. And all that in a variety of working environments. The third requirement I have selected is boost the innovation potential for a wide uptake of AI data and robotics. And finally, proposals should include a clear business case and exploitation strategy. This is in line with the fact that the type of proposals that are targeted by these topics are innovation actions. The indicative budget for this topic is 30 million euro. The EU contribution per project is 10 million euro. The type of actions is innovation actions. And regarding the technology readiness levels, the proposal should start the development with systems already at a level of between 3 and 5. And by the end of the project, these systems should achieve the TRLs 6 or 7. Finally, I would like to indicate that these proposals may include financial support to third parties. In the case of the first outcome, this financial support to third parties is compulsory, and it should be a minimum of 50% of the budget should be allocated to this financial support to third parties, while in the proposals that opt for the second outcome, the financial support to third parties is optional. Okay, that's all. This concludes my presentation. Thank you very much. I'm ready to receive and answer your questions.
Thank you, Antonio. Let's see if we have any questions from the audience. So as before, please either scan the QR code or go to slide.com and put the event code. We're looking forward to your questions. Here we go. So the first question. Since a business case and exploitation strategy are required, does it mean that the additional 3 pages for the proposals do apply here?
I'm not so sure. I think it doesn't. The business case and exploitation strategy are part of the part B of the proposal. So this should be within the 45-page limit that is allocated for the overall page 3. Sorry, part B.
Thank you, Antonio. Second question. In the Digital Emerging 0101 call, are the 3 specified outcomes expected to be present in the submitted project proposal, or only 1/2?
In this case, the 3 specified outcomes are complementary, which means that each proposal should address all the 3, all of them.
Thank you, Antonio. Do we have any other questions? Let's wait for another minute. Thank you, Antonio. You were crystal clear. No more questions to you. So
Thank you.
I would like to invite again Henry Reibenbach to present emerging and enabling technologies. Henry?
Yes. Actually, yes, I will, Henri Reibenbach again. I will present the first of these 2 topics, low TRL research in microelectronics and integration technologies for industrial solutions. Next slide, I think, is again the title. So it's okay, thank you. So here we are moving down on the TRL scale, and we're looking for proposals starting at TRL as low as 1 or 2, achieving at the end TRL 3 or 3 to 4. So it's rather long-term and basic research type proposals we're looking for, research and innovation action. We're looking for contribution around 3-4 million, so quite limited size projects, and our budget is 35 million euro. Next slide is showing the expected outcome, and we'd like you to show how you contribute to some of these expected outcomes. So it's no need to cover all of them, obviously. Contributing to at different levels, system design, manufacturing, and packaging, so very different levels. In terms of system design, the first bullet point, we are looking for innovative semiconductor and microelectronics concepts with low energy consumption, having multiple functions integrated, such as security, connectivity, sensing, even actuating, and also embedding functions which are suited to mixed analog RF and digital circuits. So it's indeed about designing complex system and integrating multiple functions. The second outcome that we would like to cover is about manufacturing. And there we look at alternative semiconductor manufacturing processes to sustain in the mid and long term the fast-paced evolution. So again, innovative aspect in manufacturing for achieving high device performance, miniaturization, ensuring low cost and again, environmental footprint, low environmental footprint. And the last level is at the packaging level, so looking to for proposals addressing very advanced packaging solutions in terms of miniaturizations and also in terms of integration of multiple functions, such as communication, going from RF, millimeter wave, or even terahertz, and power management and active-passive integration. So it's quite broad in terms of the objective in packaging. And to cover these outcomes, next slide, please. Here's the scope of this topic. So again, low TRL research with high potential, not yet demonstrated. I'm covering the broad a number of segments in the value chain, from design to fabrication up to packaging. And we do expect the innovation focus to be on materials, on physics concepts, device architectures, and also integration technologies. Not, of course, no need to cover all of them, but make clear where is your focus in terms of innovation. And there, we don't put forward some figures, but we expect you to provide a projection of the expected gains and the main figures of merit for your proposed approach. And of course, being low TRL and addressing most advanced research, we expect the proposals to be multidisciplinary in terms of addressing material processes, equipment, metrology, and back-end processing, and maybe also up to the integration and test. Here also, we open to international cooperation, in particular with Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan, as a result of a CSA on this very topic, defining the possible areas for cooperation. So this is the scope, and this is my last slide, and I think we'll go on before the floor be open to the two topics.
I would
Thank
like
you
to invite Sofia Fantecchi to continue with the session, and then we will take questions at the end of her presentation. Sofia, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with. Can you hear me? Yes?
Sure.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Chair. So I will present topic 0112, adaptive multiscale modeling and characterization suites from lab to production. The indicative budget for this call is 22 is 22 million. The EU contribution per project is expected to be between 5 and 7 million. The type of action is a research and innovation action. And concerning technology readiness level, activities are expected to start in the project at a level of 3 and achieve, when the project is completed, TRL of 5. The scope of the proposed projects is quite extensively detailed in the call text, where, as you have seen, there are 4 areas that should be covered, and they are fully described. Let's go a little bit in substance to see also why this topic is here in Destination 4 and under this section. We want to address here the major needs of the manufacturing industry in the digital and green transition. And mainly, we know that we need to develop innovative routes for improving the circular economy of materials. Very important, we need to strengthen and accelerate the production of new, safe and sustainable materials throughout the industrial value chains. And we want to extend the current knowledge on materials behavior to the entire value chain of high-tech products. And to tackle these challenges, we can build on the European leadership in recent advances in materials multiscale modeling and characterization techniques, thus using the emerging and enabling character of modeling and characterization along industrial value chains. And as a matter of fact, the manufacturing industry relies more and more on characterization data and models that take into account the whole value chain and life cycle, from the early conception of a material, the lab, to its reuse and recycling. And there is, in particular, a significant increase of the complexity of the generated data along the value chain. Data interpretation is therefore not effective, which hinders the fast development of new and more sustainable materials and manufacturing processes that are urgently needed by industry in the digital and green transition. It's to respond to this that materials characterization and modeling and simulation need to be adapted to industrial needs and duly integrated in the right way to respond to industry needs. And this topic introduces the concept of adaptive modeling characterization suites, meaning adaptive packages for industry, where adaptive refers to the ability to fine-tune and balance modeling and characterization of materials depending on the considered level from lab to production or stage of the product value chain. In other words, highly flexible, adaptable modeling and characterization tools as a source of data and knowledge in critical application fields. Of course, universal simulation and characterization data are needed for effective interchangeability of modeling and characterization tools to be used by industry. The projects that will achieve this will aim at benchmarking these suites, these packages of integrated models and characterization methods for critical application fields in order to increase trust of industry. It is very important to identify the quality and being able to compare the methods needed in terms of performance and validity. Moreover, we suggest that the projects under this core topic build or seek collaboration with existing projects and develop synergies with other relevant European, regional, national initiatives or platforms, funding programs. In particular, we suggest that the projects that will be funded under this call collaborate closely with the European Materials Modeling Council and the European Materials Characterization Council, that, as you may know, are platforms on modeling and characterization of materials for industrial needs. And we also suggest to interact closely with topic and Resilience 0139, which is coordination and support action, coordination and knowledge sharing across materials development communities that we presented yesterday at the Information Day for Destination 2. Because this topic in Destination 4, with this topic, the projects will contribute to achieve an integrated and unified materials and process ecosystem, sometimes called acceleration platform, an ecosystem of tools and capabilities, including materials modeling, characterization techniques, robotics, data documentation, artificial intelligence, machine learning, which are all orchestrated to accelerate the design, the development, and the application of materials and the related process and manufacturing. And this is a major contribution to the efforts at European level that are called for in the well-known Materials 2030 Manifesto and its follow-up actions, which we made reference to also yesterday, several occasions under Destination 2. In terms of outcomes, as you can see on the slide, there are four main outcomes, four main outputs, which are all interlinked. The first two are related to industrial materials development outcomes. They really address the gaps in the industrial workflows in the innovation process. And of course, here it is implicit that these are linked to the obtention of better interpretation of data. The third one is related to modeling and characterization outcomes. So it goes deeper into addressing characterization and modeling capabilities, so tools and competences that are needed. And the fourth is related really to the Materials 2030 roadmap, which is a follow-up action of the Materials 2030 Manifesto, to which we also made reference yesterday under Destination 2. And that's why we also suggest that topics under this call interact closely with topic Resilience 0139, the CSA. So while the first three outcomes can be achieved in a particular application area, one should be mindful with synergies in other areas, application areas or innovation markets, if we want to make reference again to the terminology used in Destination 2. And this, again, in this context of the setup of a systemic approach for advanced materials development and uptake. So with this summary, which I hope hasn't been too long, I'm glad to answer questions to give further clarifications on the call content, if needed now or later on. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Sophia. So let's move to the Q&A session, which will be joined together with Sophia and Henry. So as before, please scan the QR code or put the event code in the Slido.com and submit your questions. We have any questions? Here we go. The first question. Related to the low TRL research in microelectronics, are innovations in the domain of novel design tools development in consideration too?
Well, I guess this is a question for me. Yes, there is nothing in the text that excludes novel design tools. In fact, the first bullet point is about design. So important to show how this what this will bring in terms of the new tool, whether it's to integrate new materials, projecting on the next technology node. Going back to the text. Yes. Also important in this new design concept to take into account the issues on the low power consumption, and that's also a contribution to the Green Deal and the next issues that will come up. Of course, energy consumption, but also recycling, but also end of life. All these new elements which are important in our policies, and also knowing the situation with the design tool and how they need to be integrated into bigger tools to have a good understanding on the plan for the integration in design tools, and in particular the possible future of a design in the general context with very few companies having the design capability and integrating others. So even if low TRL, important to see some future in the design community.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you very much. Let's move to question 2. Is Taiwan eligible for funding?
No, the answer is no. What is seen in terms of the collaboration is to have a common objectives, but the EC will not directly fund Taiwanese companies or legal entities there. But in this domain, clearly the market is a global market. When talking about equipment, there are only a few running, so the market is small, and ensuring having basically European equipment in TSMC in Taiwan is important. So it's important to collaborate there, and it's important to prepare for the next equipment in Taiwan, in Japan and South Korea also.
Thank you. Sophia, do you have anything to add?
No, I would not have anything to add. Of course, here since we refer to the manifesto approach, that it's really strengthening this advanced materials ecosystem in Europe. Countries like this one would just be treated like other countries for international cooperation, but it's clearly a topic to strengthen the ecosystem in Europe.
Thank you very much.
I don't have particular comments on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to question 3 then. Can you mention few European critical innovation markets, as mentioned in the topic, to be taken into consideration for the use cases?
Yes, the notion of innovation markets that we have adopted under Destination 2 is to talk about markets, of products that are manufactured, where we see the impact of advanced materials, market that would benefit from the development of advanced materials. These innovation markets that are considered in the Materials 2030 Manifesto are 9. They are healthcare and medicine, sustainable construction, new energy, sustainable transportation, home and personal care, sustainable packaging, sustainable agriculture, sustainable textiles, and electronic appliances. This it does not mean that we need to cover all the applications. Of course, the applications that will be considered by the proposed project will be 1 or 2 or whatever it is decided by the proposers that would benefit from this approach. And as I said, it's very important that something that can be achieved in a particular application area maybe can also be used in another application area. So this is in the context of the systemic approach. There are ways of working that need to be shared, and maybe something that is used in one area can be used in another area. But it's up to the proposers that come with a selection of use cases or users cases. Yes.
Thank you, Sophia. Very clear. Do we have any other questions? I don't see any other questions, so I think we can move on to the next session. Thanks a lot, Sophia and Henry. Very interesting presentation.
Thank you.
So moving to the next session on quantum technologies, I would like to invite Laurent Olislager to take the floor. Laurent, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, this is Oscar Diaz. I will do a small introduction, and later my colleagues Laurent will start with the first topic. It's fine, Matthias, can you hear me?
Thank you, Oscar. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Just it's a small introduction. No, please, if you can stay in the previous slide. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. It's a small introduction on some information that it's basically common to all topics. So this is, as you know, we are going to present 4 topics here. These topics basically is a continuation of what we have done on the previous work program. That it's basically it's a continuation of the first phase of the ramp up, the quantum flagship. And one thing that is important is just to say that all these topics are based on the quantum document that basically was published like a few years ago, that is 2 years ago, that is the strategic research agenda. And now this year I wanted also to say that we have updated, in fact we have updated a few weeks ago with a new version that is called the strategic research and industry agenda. The idea here is what we are trying is to not only focus on the basic research or low-tier role research, but try to move into more high-tier role research and moving into industrialization market of these devices. So one of the things that we try to do is to cover the topics that were not addressed in the previous work program. You will see, for example, in quantum computing with different platforms that were not covered, like Photonics or MV Diamond. And also one of the things of the new things that we have done is also including a call in quantum photonics. This is the work of a few years collaboration between the quantum and the photonics communities. There have been multiple workshops, and this is the culmination that is basically this call on quantum photonics. My colleague will provide more information. Also, one of the things that we like to do is to try to have a continuation of on the previous call. So we continue also with quantum sensing, and we focus in more mature quantum applications, and going a little bit high in the TRL. And there will be calls that, for example, like basic science, that we are not launching now. We are because basically we launched it last year, and we are still where we are now starting with all the projects in basic science. So we can go to the next slide, please. So these are the four calls that we are going. My colleagues will present. I will not go too much into detail, just to let you know that, as you see, we are trying to focus now in higher TRLs. All the calls cover basically they are applying the 22.5 article. So this applies for all the calls, and they are all RIA, except for one FPA. That also my colleague will explain. I think with this we will move into each one of the calls by my colleagues, and we will have some questions and answers at the end. Thank you very much, Laurent.
Thank you. So now I would like to invite Laurent.
Yes, thank you, Oscar, for the introduction. So I will present the call on quantum photonic integrated circuit technologies. So as Oscar mentioned, this stems from a long-term collaboration between the communities, the quantum and photonic communities. And we expect the projects to contribute actively to these communities and to help bringing the quantum technologies in the photonic context closer to the market. So the photonic integrated circuit technologies and quantum science are building blocks for these QPIC devices that would allow to do quantum information processing, computation, communication, and sensing or metrology. So these photon-based approaches have great potential to address different use cases, but they have also challenges throughout the value chain, from the materials and circuit design to the integration and packaging. And so with this call, we want to address these challenges and help the quantum components that are typically large, complex, and costly to be more scalable and to be usable in products. So as the expected outcome, we want to improve our existing photonic integrated circuit technologies in terms of performance, functionality, manufacturing process efficiency and reliability, integration, and packaging. So to address all the challenges I mentioned, and to demonstrate their technology capability in key enabling technologies with a high potential on the quantum technology industry. So we want to focus also on applications in the different strands of quantum technologies. So to be scalable, we want these technologies to be prepared for future pilot lines and photonics hubs that are being prepared, and to open testing and experimentation facilities. All this will help to explore the potential of these technologies for digital green and healthy Europe as fundamental building blocks for different systems that will help demonstrate an added value on different applications. One important aspect is, of course, also to secure the technological sovereignty for Europe in such key materials. Next slide, please. So the scope, as I already mentioned, it's enhancing the performance of the technologies to also incorporate the specific quantum functionality into the existing platforms. to have a multi-technology integration and to develop these peaks capable of operating at cryogenic temperatures. Well, I will not go into detail here, but so the scope addresses all the challenges that I mentioned before, focusing on integration and reliability performance. But in addition, the proposal should identify concrete applications in the different quantum areas of work, so sensing, communication, computation, and simulation, and to test the developed technologies in the context of these specific applications. And an important aspect is to address the IP management strategy and collaboration with industry and SMEs. So this should not be theoretical projects, so it should really be concrete and have a way forward for these technologies to be developed in a manner that facilitates the scalable manufacturing, and so that they can be brought to the market. Next slide, please. So this is it. As indicated, the total budget is around 12 million euros, and we expect a contribution of 4 to 6 million per project. And the target TRL is 4 or 5 by the end of the project. The call has some restrictions, so you can find the details on those restrictions in the call documents. This is it for this call. Now I will leave the floor for the next call to my colleague.
Thanks, Laurent. We will move now to the next call, and Christian Trevsker will explain all details. Christian, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Christian Trevsker, and I coordinate this topic on investing in alternative quantum computation and simulation platform. So this is a RIA, Research and Innovation Action. We have dedicated 20 million euros to this topic, and we expect to be able to fund between 2 and 3 projects of a value of between 7 and 12 million euros. The TRL of the project should start at level 3, 4, and at the end of the project reach TRL 5 and 6, so a certain level of maturity of the technology. And as Laurent and Oscar was mentioning before, this call also has Article 22.5 of Horizon Europe applied, which means that the countries that are eligible to apply are EU member states, Iceland, and Norway. And here is missing also Israel, which is identified in the work program, and it's a mistake here. It's not written. So what do we expect with this call of proposals? So the outcomes are 2 that we expect. First of all, maturing the alternative and promising quantum computation and simulation platforms that have the prospect of high scalability in the mid to long term and programmability of these platforms. What do I mean as alternative is the second bullet point, to complement those platforms that are already supported by the quantum technologies flagship. We will see a few examples in what's coming. The scope of this call is, of course, to reach large-scale quantum computation and simulation. And for this, Europe needs breakthroughs in several aspects, in the scalability, for example, of quantum processors and simulators, in the scalability of devices and the integration of the platforms, and breakthroughs in the full programmability of this technology platform, like quantum computer and or simulators. Next slide, please. The work of the proposal should address several aspects. As I was mentioning, the first aspect is the development of alternative quantum computer and simulator systems and platforms, such as, for example, Photonics, which is not funded currently under the flagship, or, for example, NV centers, so nitrogen vacancy centers that are also not funded under the flagship, or hybrid systems. So this is a call that is open to, let's say, all alternative approaches that are not funded under the flagship. And the proposal should address several technical aspects. Here I mentioned three. The first one is the integration of key building blocks, such as, for example, individual quantum system, control electronics, quantum software stack, and use case applications. We also give specific targets. For example, in the individual quantum system, we would like the proposal to reach at least 10 qubits for quantum computers and at least 50 individual quantum units for quantum simulators. The second element that proposal should address is the scalability to large systems. Again, we separate quantum computers from quantum simulator, and we would like them to reach at least 100 qubits for quantum computers and more than 1,000 individual quantum units for a quantum simulator. Proposal should address also the verification and validation of the quantum computation or simulation and solve a concrete problem to demonstrate the quantum advantage of their approach. In addition, for the quantum computation platform only, they should explore fault tolerance, not reach fault tolerance, but explore. Well, if reach, I mean, the most far they go into this goal, the better it is. But the minimum requirement is explore the fault tolerance. Next slide. And finally, the proposal should also cover 4 aspects that are more general. These are not of a technical nature. The first one is the cooperation with complementary projects. Here we list 2 of them. The first one is the one on enabling quantum software stack that are coming out from the call Digital Emerging 0210, strengthening the quantum software ecosystem for quantum computing platforms so that they can build on the results of this already funded project. And the second one is the future Digital Europe program calls under the Euro-HPC joint undertaking for the acquisition and operation of quantum computers, so that there is a maximum synergy with this activity. The second point is the cooperation and coordination with relevant quantum flagship initiatives. And relevant means for the proposed platform, either quantum simulation or quantum computing. For example, the FPA, so Framework Partnership Agreement, establishing open testing and experimentation facilities and pilot lines, with which new components under pilot lines or new testing facilities are being developed. So the proposal under this call may benefit from these FPA's activities. And the second one is the cooperation with the FPAs that are funded under the quantum simulation topic, so the 0217, and the ones funded under the quantum computing topic, 0215. Again, the idea here is to foster as much as possible synergies among these projects and avoid replication of efforts. The third point is proposal should also address any additional support that they may receive from national or regional programs. So we know that in many member states and associated countries, there is a deployment of quantum computers and quantum simulation platforms. So again, we would like to have synergies here. And finally, they should contribute to the governance and overall coordination of the quantum flagship initiative, for example, by participating to science and engineering board and all these activities that are coordinated under the flagship. Our final point is that proposal should contribute to spreading excellence across Europe, for example, with the involvement of EU widening countries. And I finished for this topic, and I give the floor to my colleague for the other topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Next in the lineup is Doru Tanasa. The floor is yours.
Hello. Hello, thank you. Thank you. So I'm the topic coordinator for the topic 0143, Framework Partnership Agreement for Developing Large-Scale Quantum Computing Platform Technologies. And the reason we are having this call is a simple one. So we, as my colleague Oscar mentioned in the introduction, we are for the quantum computing fact, we are supporting several technologies, and we are supporting them at different TRL levels and with a different intensity, I would say. The ones which are more mature right now, so superconducting and trapped ions, for those we already started. FPAs and the SJs have just been approved, and they will start beginning of next year. And this call addresses the semiconducting technology, which is from a TRL point of view a little bit behind in time, let's say. And just before me, my colleague Christian mentioned about other alternative technologies which are still at an earlier stage, earlier development stage, but and for which there is also a specific call. But to come back to this call, so what we would like to achieve with it, the expected outcome is to have to demonstrate a universally programmable processor of at least 200 physical qubits by 2027, operating in the NISQ domain, including the firmware, and having sufficient coherence to perform the computations involving all of its qubits. This should be a hardware agnostic, and it should also include a test suite, real-world applications, and the possibility of hybrid quantum and HPC computing, as well as the capability of outperforming classical computers on a number of relevant real-world use cases. And by 2029, to build a full-stack, highly connected, high-fidelity quantum computer of at least 1,000 physical qubits, which exhibit scalability and are capable of outperforming classical computers on relevant real-world use cases. Of course, we will also need standards and interface specifications for the software and hardware stack, including remote and cloud-based access. I mentioned these dates here. It's important to note that the Framework Partnership Agreement is of a duration of 4 years. The idea is to leave enough time so that two consecutive specific grant agreements can be signed, covering a total duration of 7 years. So we had a similar mechanism for the other two technologies that I mentioned before, trapped ion and superconducting. Regarding financial data, so for the FPA there is no budget. However, the first SJ for this FPA will have a budget of 25 million. The type of the action is an FPA, and we expect a TRL of 6-7 by the end of the project. The same restriction conditions applies as for the previous call. So again, here I will note that we forgot to add Israel about in the associated countries. If we can move to the next slide, please. So in the scope of this call, so we expect the proposals to build on the quantum computing platform that we already supported on the quantum flagship in the ramp-up phase. And as I said, we expect the proposal to target the development of open quantum computing platforms compatible with the fabrication techniques of the semiconductor industry. So, for instance, the silicon spin qubits, as well as the integration with key building blocks such as quantum processors in the NISQ regime, with control electronics, low-level software, verification, and validation of the quantum computation. And also, as well in the scope, is are the practical strategies towards the break-even point of the fault tolerance to increase algorithmic depth, the number of operations. And as for the previous call my colleague presented, this platform should explore the fault tolerance as a minimum. If we can move to the next slide. There are other requirements for the scope of this call. So the proposal should describe how the activities that will be carried out during the ramp-up phase of the flagship will be continued, and how the results that were obtained will be used, and how they will provide efficient coordination under a strong scientific and engineering leadership. They should also address the development and integration of this platform of a full software stack, including compiler, scheduler, programming tools, a suite of algorithms, use cases, and so on. And they should aim at the development of an open quantum computer experimental systems and work on the reduction of their form factor. And the last slide, I think. Can we move to the? Okay, and there are also a series of horizontal requirements, quite similar to the one from the other call. So the proposals should also cover the cooperation with complementary projects, mainly the one in the quantum software call that has been mentioned. The future DEP Digital Euro program, Euro HPC JU, which will call for the acquisition and operation of quantum computers, with the objective of integrating these quantum computers with the HPC and the data infrastructure. Also should cover any additional support they may receive from relevant national regional programs and initiative in this area, and to contribute to the governance and other coordination of the quantum technologies flagship initiative. And of course, to contribute to spreading excellence across Europe, for instance, through the involvement of the EU widening countries. Thank you, and we are expecting your questions. I give the floor now to my colleague Laurent for the last quantum call.
Thank you, Doru. Indeed, we will take the questions after Laurent's presentation. Laurent?
Yes, thank you, Doru. So I will present the last call of the last quantum call about next generation quantum sensing and metrology technologies. Let's jump directly in the expected outcome. The first one is to contribute to demonstrate the feasibility of next generation quantum sensing and metrology technologies and devices. So by next generation, we mean that by the end of the project, TRL achieved should be 4 or 5. And to do so, the second expected outcome is to do so by showing disruptive progress in the performance, reliability, and efficiency. And last but not least, application of such technologies and devices. And as I mentioned already, by enhancing the TRL, of course, of the final product, but also of all the essential components necessary to build them. So the scope, the proposal should obviously focus on the next generation quantum sensors and metrology devices, such as, for example, quantum enhanced spectroscopy and imaging, including entangle and or superposition-based clocks, quantum optomechanical sensing devices, squeeze states of lights, point effects in the solid state. These are just examples, and they can contribute to many fields by an extreme precision or accuracy measurement. The proposal should address the development of new methods and techniques to achieve the full control about the relevant quantum degrees of freedom, and to avoid that they become noisy by interacting with the environment, and or identify specific quantum states to outperform uncorrelated systems, taking into account that we have to do this in a noisy environment, So we need reliable methods to prepare them. As you see, well, this is supposed to bring the quantum sensors and metrology devices closer to the market and closer to real-life applications by showing that they can outperform other systems. And they can do so by exploiting the quantum properties, such as covariance, superposition, or entanglement in quantum system to improve the performance of the targeted sensors technologies, well beyond the classical limits, so well beyond the systems that are currently on the market, most systems. Next slide, please. So proposals should target the development of laboratory prototypes, demonstrating the practical usefulness of these engineered quantum states to improve sensing or imaging and develop and demonstrate optimized quantum software as well for detection applications in real-world applications. So we really expect a full prototype. Of course, this has to be done. I mean, quantum sensing is a vast area, and this has to be done in good collaboration with different expertise fields. So we expect the proposal to join forces with relevant teams, for example, in metrology institutes or other relevant technical fields to further advance the limits of sensor sensitivity and resolution, and to implement the best control protocols for statistical techniques and machine learning algorithms where appropriate. And this happens in the context of the quantum technologies flagship. So of course, project should build on and seek collaboration with existing projects and develop the appropriate synergies with projects of the quantum flagship initiative, or so national or other regional initiatives, funding programs or platforms. The indicative budget of the code is 10 million euros. We expect to fund proposals of around 2-3 million, so around 4 or 5 proposals to be accepted. As I mentioned, the end of the project TRL should be 4 to 5. And again, we have restrictions on the eligible countries. So in this case, it's the EU member states, associated countries, OECD countries, and also, as is not mentioned in the slide, but also the Mercosur countries. And that is all for this call. So I give back the floor for the Q&A session, I believe.
Thank you, Laurent. Fascinating session, fascinating presentations. I would like now to move on to the Q&A session. So here, a little request to our audience. Since Q&A session will be covering 4 calls, could you please indicate the reference number? So could be only the last digits of the reference number when asking the question, so we would understand better to which call your question refers to. So as before, just scan the QR code or just put the event code into your browser, and let's move on to the Q&A session. Here we go. First question regarding call 0140. So to Laurent, the call topic mentions material platforms such as SiO2, SiN, INP, lithium niobate, ATC. SiC is an emerging material platform. Does the topic cover it? Laurent?
Well, the examples that we put are simply examples. So there is a such as mentioned. So any relevant platform can be considered.
Thank you, Laurent. Very clear answer. Let's move to question number 2. It's about call 0143. So Doru, could you please explain once more the concept of the FPA in relation to other types of actions? RIA, IA, CSA.
Sure. So FPA is stands for comes from framework partnership agreement, and in fact, it's one of the instruments foreseen in the Horizon Europe. The FPA, it's a mechanism that it's commonly used whenever we need to establish a long-term partnership with a consortium in order to allow enough time to that consortium to reach a certain maturity level. So it's especially well suited for technologies such as quantum computing. And in fact, as I said, we already employ it in for two other platforms in the quantum computing, but also in other areas, quantum communication and so on. And the reason, so the reason why we use an FPA is that we want to have a longer term partnership with the consortium. So basically the consortium that will be selected will have a guarantee that there will be financing during a maximum period of up to 7 years. It doesn't mean that from the beginning they will need to explain in detail what they will do until the end of the 7 years. This is for sure impossible to know. But as I said, normally we will have in this FPA, we will have two consecutive SJs, specific grant agreements, each with a duration more or less of 3.5 years, so to cover the whole 7 years. And when the consortium will be invited to submit the proposal for the first SGA, then they will have to describe in detail what they plan to achieve during this first SGA, and the same when they will be invited to submit the proposal for the second SGA. So there is an open selection for the FPA, but afterwards only the winning consortium of the FPA will be invited to submit a proposal for the SGA. And if you want an SGA, it's very similar to a RIA in the format and in the type of action. In fact, the only the notable difference is this duration, the fact that we will cover a duration of 7 years. And also another important remark is that the consortium also can change and very often changes in composition during the life cycle of the FPA by inviting new partners and maybe keeping some of the partners silent in the sense that they will not be involved in the actions of a specific SGA. I hope it's clearer now. If not, on this day.
Thank you, Doro. I think it's very clear now. Do we have any other questions? I think we have no more questions. So I would like to thank very much our speakers. Very fascinating topic and very clear presentations. Now we are moving to our last session this afternoon on graphene, and I would like to welcome Deputy Head of Unit from DG Connect, Unit C4, Emerging and Disruptive Technologies, Aymar de Touzalong. Aymar, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm the last one in the row, I think, for today. So I will try to be short. So I will present to you the topic on graphene and 2D materials. So this topic is not only about graphene, but also about any 2D materials. And in this call, there are two topics which will be called for. One on sustainable, safe by design 2D materials technology for research and innovation action. And the second one on 2D materials of tomorrow, also for research and innovation action. Important element is to understand the context of those topics. The starting point of the activities there are building on the Graphene Flagship, which is the major project which was funded under Horizon 2020. So the goals are building on its achievement. They are pursuing the research and innovation activities which were started there, and they aim at accelerate the technology development. They aim also at capturing concrete innovation opportunities emerging from graphene technologies, and also at setting up progressively production capabilities in Europe. We have in Europe a strong supply and value chain in graphene and 2D materials in Europe, and capitalizing on this is very important. So also in terms of context, a first wave of topics were addressed in the work program 21-22. They were focused in particular on application of graphene and 2D materials in electronics, energy, biomedical technology, and composites. There was also a coordination and support action, which is managing the governance and the coordination of all the Graphene Flagship activities. So these two topics now are to be looked in the context of this, and they are the second wave of topics to continue covering the full value chain of activities in this domain. Next slide, please. So the first topic is about sustainable, safe by design 2D materials technologies. So the objective in terms of outcome is to develop safe and sustainable by design two-dimensional materials technology. So this is obviously a very important element, but it's also looking at the societal acceptance of 2D material and 2D material-based technology. It should also deliver a set of robust and verified assays for toxicity, eco-toxicity testing of 2D material, and also to support the regulatory requirement for the registration and authorization for use. So there are a number of guidelines there which should be considered when looking at this call. The indicative budget for this topic is 6 million euros, and we expect an EU contribution per project of 3 to 5 million euros. So there will be 1 to 2 projects selected under this topic. The TRL level is from 2 to 3 to start, and with the objective to achieve a TRL of 4 to 5. A few elements to take into account. It's important that the proposal comply with a safe and sustainable by design framework and criteria. So there are references to this, and you will find them also mentioned in the call text. And they should also foresee a contribution to the governance and overall coordination of the Graphene Flagship. As indicated in the previous slides, there is a coordination and support action, and each of the projects should also liaise and coordinate with that coordination and support action. The proposal should also indicate which chapter of the strategic research and innovation plan for chemicals and materials they will contribute to. So this plan is available on the Commission website, and it's important to be looked at there. So there are a lot of elements, contextual elements, which are to be considered when looking at this topic. Next slide, please. So this topic is about 2D materials of tomorrow. So this is more long-term research on 2D material. So the objective is to have a broad portfolio in Europe of innovative two-dimensional materials which have been studied and which are can be promising for the future. So it's 2D materials, networks, but also multi-component heterostructure, which could be exhibiting new properties or complementary functionality that can lead to breakthrough in digital system and device. So the scope there is quite broad, and it's really more an exploratory topic on future capabilities and potentially new 2D materials or new configuration of heterostructures with a various set of materials. So the indicative budget for this topic is 12 million euro, with an EU contribution per project of 3 to 4 million euro. This is research and innovation action, And as I say, we expect project there to be at a lower TRL, typically TRL 2, and could go up to TRL 4 as output of the project. As this project will also be part of the Graphene Flagship initiative, it's important that there is foreseen a contribution to the governance and to the coordination activity there. I think these were the two slides to introduce, the three slides to introduce those topics, and I'm happy to take any question.
Thanks a lot, Eymar. And let's move to our Q&A section. So as before, you can either scan a Q&A code or to put the event code into your browser. And please also make reference to the calls, to a number of calls regarding which you have questions. Let's wait for a minute and then we will see if we have any questions. Do we have any questions? It looks like we don't have any questions. Let's wait maybe for one more minute. I don't see any questions. Well, so Eymar, you were crystal clear. Thank you very much for that. We don't have any questions. And sorry, I was too fast to say it. I think we have one question. So bear with us for one more moment. So regarding Twin Transition 0103, contributions of upcoming EU initiatives like the Digital Product Passport, where are the other information, please? So I'm not sure if this question refers to your calls, though.
No, it's not. It's related to another topic, I think.
No, I think it was a mistake. Yeah, it is a wrong question, wrong reference. So sorry, not relevant. This was dealt with yesterday, so please check recordings. You have all information in the recordings, and if you have any questions, remember that you can submit all the questions via funding and tenders portal. So we actually don't have any questions, Eymar. So I was right to say that you were crystal clear. And with that, we can conclude today's Info Day. Thank you all for following us. Thank you all for your questions. We are looking forward to next session tomorrow morning. Have a nice day and good luck with your proposals.